Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about the Champion Roadmap preview that we sort of got today. Now, the new Champion Roadmap has been released early on the LOLQQ site, which means that it hasn't been translated yet, but they have essentially already posted the roadmap a week before its supposed global launch. So we don't have exactly what the text is, but we do have all of the images. Riot Reeve has confirmed that it was supposed to come out next week, so they will sort of be answering questions about it at that point. But at the very least, for the moment, we can sort of look at the images and speculate what might be happening in the new roadmap, what they're going to be announcing, and especially what we do have coming forward. So that's really exciting. I will probably do another video about that when the full article does come out, but for the moment at least, I do want to take some time and talk through the sort of preview images that they're giving us and what these might mean for the future of League of Legends releases. Now, the first few images here, also these images, they are all hosted over on Surrender at 20. I will have the link down in the description below if you want to follow along with me as I talk through here. The first couple of images are all very much so sort of misty, black misty, very ominous images. We especially have the first one here that they used as the header is very obviously the same image we had from the teaser of the Sentinel champion who will be coming later this year. That's all misty and gloomy, which potentially means that the Sentinel champion that's supposed to be helping out Senna and Lucian may end up being someone who's actually already in Viego's clutches and will need to be liberated before he can help out the rest of his Sentinel allies in order to give us a hand. He also may be a bad guy, which would be an interesting way for Riot to take the Sentinel archetype. Obviously, it would be kind of nice to build out the Sentinel order a little bit more beyond just Senna and Lucian, but also, why would you do Lucian but again? I can kind of see where they may be going with that in the future, but I would also guess this champion would be another 80 carry, so we'll see where they end up taking it. Or if this is just sort of another way for Riot to be hinting at the sort of ongoing arc of this year in regards to Viego and his sort of storyline. They did say every champion this year will be telling the story of Viego, so it makes sense that this Sentinel may be pushing that story forwards a little bit more. It also means that Riot may be backing away a little bit on their actual telling of the story of Viego. They may be trying to set up this big conflict, but not necessarily pay it off all in the same year, as we only just met Viego, so it would make sense to sort of reveal him and then in the same year deal with all of Viego's plans in one go, right? That wouldn't be very satisfying from a narrative perspective. But we do know that there is some development going forward. Riot also posted an image of Gwen approaching some black mist that looks similar to the pillars of mist that were conjured by Viego after he gained access to the Isolde fragment inside of Senna. So she may be about to meet her creator's husband. That may be another opportunity for Riot to kind of help push the story forward and show us what Gwen will do next, what Viego will do next, and if any of these champions may start to sort of come together and form an alliance to deal with the black mist and deal with the Ruin King. Either way, there's a lot of sort of super interesting things that we may be seeing coming forward. So really excited to see how that's going to develop. There's also a sort of black mist twists around the Freljord and in Shurima as well. So these are sort of other sites that Viego may be scouring the globe looking for more Isolde. It also potentially means that we'll have some more opportunities for sort of things like they did in the cinematic where you had Karma get ruined and Darius get ruined. There may be other champions in other parts of Runeterra that will also be sort of getting possessed by Viego and acting in his interests as opposed to the interests of whatever faction they happen to belong to. So again, excited to see where Riot choose to go with these. I don't know if this necessarily means that Riot will be tying a champion release or two into these releases. Obviously, the Sentinel is Demacian, so it makes sense why he's in that image, but the Shurima and the Freljord images, I'm not entirely sure, as Udyr won't be coming out until next year. He's the best Freljordian candidate for that, and I have no idea who's coming out for Shurima, but they do have another image in here that's sort of a green crystalline grappling hook, so that potentially is our 5th champion for the year, as Riot tend to release one champion for every role each year. That would end up being potentially our support if we assume that the Sentinel champion is an AD carry, so potentially that's where we're going to get our Shurima introduction, as the environment around that grappling hook does look a lot like Shurima, so we'll have to kind of see. I do feel like there's a lot of potential interest here in the storyline and a lot of things that Riot are trying to do to set up the ongoing story arc, so that's going to be really neat to see, but I'm hoping that Riot start giving us some more concrete ways of telling the story and moving it forward rather than just the kind of still images and things that they've been kind of putting out to sort of develop it. At this point, I'm well baked. Get me out of the oven and let's actually move forward with this story. Also, the raccoon image. I have no idea what that's about. It's a raccoon wearing a nurse hat. I have no idea what the context for that might be, unless maybe the raccoon is getting possessed by Viego. That's one where I would have liked to have had some text to help kind of identify what might be going on with that image. But again, we'll just have to wait a week, and then Riot will be putting up the full champion roadmap, and I'll be able to talk about it further at that point. Moving on to the reworks, right? I've also published a couple of things here about the reworks. Now, the Mundo rework is looking super good after these two things that Riot have posted. They have the splash art for Rageborn Mundo done. He looks like he's been ripped straight out of World of Warcraft, and that is absolutely amazing. It looks like that skin's going to be really cool to see in-game as well. They also posted a small gif of corporate Mundo riding in a little tiny car as he drives around the area, so I'm guessing that's likely to be Corporate Mundo's Home Guards Home Guards effects, and I'm really excited to kind of see where that skin ends up as well, as it was already a super jokey skin, and Riot now have the opportunity to take it up to 11, especially with this dinky little car animation, so really excited to see where that's going to end up as well, and just in general, super excited for where the Mundo VGU is going to be. Moving on to talk about Udyr a little bit. Now, Udyr has some concept art in this post that's sort of showing possible directions that Riot could take for him. Some fans have already taken to Twitter to express concern that the designs look too much like Spirit Guard Udyr. I personally disagree. I think that they're not nearly clean enough to be Spirit Guard Udyr. As I kind of mentioned in my older Udyr video where I talk about why Spirit Guard Udyr is not going to be the Udyr rework. You guys can watch that down in the description below. I will have that linked. Generally speaking, Spirit Guard Udyr is going to be the cleaner, more Ionia-based monk Udyr, where he definitely is like sort of more focused on his martial talent and supplemented that with the animal spirits, whereas this sort of Udyr appearance and style is more brutal, it's more rugged, it's more roughed up. It definitely is the Udyr who's kind of succumbing to the animal spirits, who's letting them act through him as opposed to mastering them. So I do really think this is a good look. I think, though, personally, Riot will likely opt away from a rougher Udyr appearance. I think they could rough him up some more, but as we found out with Volibear, fans don't really want their favorite champion looking super rough. I know a lot of people express interest in the Thousand-Pierced Bear being the Volibear rework, but essentially his fans said that's not why I like Volibear. I really like him as just the sort of armored bear god type style, so Riot went for something that I think ends up being a little cliche, not very iconic, and not very League of Legends, whereas the Thousand-Pierced Bear 100% would have been. And I feel like in that way with the Udyr rework as well. I really feel like Riot could push this design and really make him look, you know, super scarred and super kind of rugged and super kind of ugly looking, but I don't think Riot are going to end up doing that. Either way, I hope they get him into the sweet spot where he's sort of able to be, you know, sort of the clean cut appearance that fans are going to like, but also rough enough that he's distinguished from the Spirit Guard effects. So either way, we'll kind of see where they end up, but I already love the concept art they put out. It does look really, really good. So hopefully they're able to find that sweet spot, like I said. Finally, talking a little bit here about some new champions. Now, the grappling hook, like I said, is likely our support for later this year. It could be another hook champion. It could be a champion with sort of some ability to traverse terrain using that grappling hook. It's sort of like Camille's hookshot, how that doesn't do anything to champions, but it does pull her to terrain. Maybe we could see something similar with this sort of grappling hook on the champion. So we'll see where that ends up. Again, without text, it's really hard to kind of speculate on these champions. Riot really put every single word with care when they do these spoilers in order to kind of give you a lot of hints as to what the champion may end up being. I especially remember when they did Ornn with the sort of forging a new Vanguard. It was the tagline, and he ended up being a smith, right? He forged items, so that kind of a thing. So I'm kind of hoping to see what the text actually says about these new champions, but we definitely know one of the new champions this year will have a grappling hook. And we also have sort of a lightning, poison-y, mechanical-looking device that they have in a GIF here. It looks like it's likely another Zaun champion, which would be sort of interesting. And it could also be another electricity mage, as we don't actually have... we only have one of those, right? Kennen is sort of League's designated Thunder Mage, as it were, but as we've kind of seen already with sort of Seraphine and Sona, Riot are okay with sort of doubling down on concepts. They've done it before. They've even done it before, Seraphine and Sona, with things like Jhin and Varus and Caitlyn all having sort of different aspects of the sniper archetype. So it's certainly open to having another Thunder Mage in the game, especially if this Thunder Mage is getting his Thunder powers through Hex Tech. That would be kind of an interesting take on the concept, and sort of a really neat thing for the game to have, I think. But also, in case you're curious, Volibear does not count. His thematic is sort of the armored warbear god type deal. He has thunder as part of his kit, but he's not really as much a thunder mage as someone like Kennen is. So So it's sort of in the case of just because some other champions do minion mancing doesn't make them necromancers, whereas Yorick is sort of League's de facto necromancer. So either way, we'll kind of see where we end up with things. I'm really excited to sort of just where all these champion releases are going to end up being. So definitely sort of super excited to see where they're going to be, and especially with all these reworks and all these other new champions that we've talked about a little bit earlier. But we'll have to wait for the full champion roadmap to be released before we can speculate any further. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching. Let me know what you think of any of these images down in the comment section below. If you have any thoughts as to what they might actually be or who they might actually be for, I would love to hear what you're thinking. But like I said, you're going to have to leave that all down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video today, go ahead and leave a like. And if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all later.